Good evening. I'm Sue Ann Ramella. Tonight, we say farewell to our longtime colleague and friend, Gillian Coldsnow. You'll hear from listeners, friends, longtime colleagues, and we invite you to sign Gillian's memory book, which is at nwpb.org. You're probably very familiar with the website. And you can also leave comments for us, and we'll get to those during the program, which should be either on your right or down at the bottom in the chat, and we'll weave those in as we continue on saying goodbye to Gillian Coldsnow. Now, NWPB is part of the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication at Washington State University, and one of our biggest fans is Dean Bruce Pinkleton. Bruce?
Thank you, Sue Ann. Today we celebrate the impact Gillian has had through her work at Northwest Public Broadcasting. I've been listening to Gillian since we both arrived on the Palouse nearly 28 years ago, and Sue Ann is exactly right. I'm a big fan. For many of us, the first thing that catches our attention about Gillian is her unique voice and the obvious care she puts into her broadcasting work. Once you get to know Gillian, it's obvious that she's a dedicated and intelligent leader. She brings true passion to her work, and she encourages this passion in others. Here's a few things you may not know about Gillian, and I have a few notes here to make sure I get things right. So, Gillian started her work at a small station on the Oregon coast, where she settled in after a trip to the US from Singapore. It was in Singapore that she honed her radio broadcast skills with a BBC affiliate station, and she expected to return to Singapore, but she fell in love with the Pacific Northwest during her trip to the States. She married and she started a family. And we're the beneficiaries of that decision. Gillian knows how to raise sheep and kids. When Gillian and her family moved to the Palouse, she raised Kai, Rosemary, and Joe on a small farm outside of Moscow, Idaho. Now the kids are grown and recently all have left the nest. There's been a lot of growing at the station too. Gillian grew from classical music host to operations manager to assistant station manager and then programming director. While this was happening, the station grew from a handful of signals in Eastern Washington to a network of 33 signals reaching to Olympia, Forks, and Victoria, and the audience has grown to more than 200,000 listeners. Imagine that. Whether it's through the program she selected for listeners, her warm, intelligent, and personal style, her training of others, which includes me, by the way, the air checks she produces, and the skills she practices and shares with others at Northwest Public Broadcasting, Gillian has impacted us all. It's a pleasure for me to join you today in honoring Gillian and to thank her for bringing warmth and high standards to WSU and to people across the Pacific Northwest. Gillian, you've made the lives of hundreds of thousands of people better, hundreds of thousands, through your great, outstanding work. We will miss you deeply.
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted, Gillian.
Thank you so much. That's really lovely. And yes, we arrived at the same time, didn't we, Bruce? 1993.
Yes, and I had hair then and it was brown.
I actually have a little souvenir from that year, and Dennis will remember this, but this was the first station T-shirt we had at the time. You see, it's 1992, and there were 4 stations listed, and we now have 33 signals, as you said.
Fantastic.
That's something.
That's fantastic.
Well, speaking of all those years and all that growth, Gillian has worked 28 years with many students, mentoring a lot of us, even here tonight. one of which is a Seattle TV, Como TV news anchor, Mary Nam. And Gillian, I don't know if I ever told you this, but Mary and I were working and training at about the same time, and she used to call me late at night before she called you, just to make sure she had everything figured out, because she didn't want to, disappoint you. We worked so hard for you, Gillian.
And you
so
see the results.
there's good results. Yeah, pretty good market, Seattle. So here's a video from Mary Nam.
Hi, Gillian. I just wanted to say congratulations on this next chapter of your life. It is really a huge loss for all of the listeners, your colleagues. It's hard to imagine Northwest Public Radio without Gillian Coldsnow, but really I am so happy for you. And I wanted to thank you for all of your guidance and leadership and everything that you taught me when I was a student at WSU. Best of luck, Gillian, and I'm glad I'll see you on Facebook.
Oh, Gillian, are those the tears already? We have so much more for you.
Oh,
So that was Mary Nam from Como TV in
yes.
Seattle. And Gillian has met many listeners throughout her years here in the Northwest, and they have turned into friends. She met Blaine and Sandy Gibson on an opera tour of Northern Italy. And I recall you came back, and I hope everybody learned how to make amazing focaccia after that tour. They also share a love of music and great food. Here's Blaine and Sandy.
Hi, Gillian.
Hi, Gillian.
Hi.
We first got to meet her and get to know her on this trip. It was 2006, and Northwest Public Radio was working with WSU Alumni Association and organized this. It was supposed to be an opera tour, I suppose, of Northern Italy, and we'd never been to Italy, and we had already been hypnotized by Gillian's voice on the radio, and so. We thought this would be a wonderful trip, and it really was. It was a joy, and meeting Gillian was such a wonderful experience, and we hit it off really well. Particularly Gillian and Sandy, I think, shared a lot in common and really hit it off, and they kind of let me tag along. But we would on this tour, we would be busy tourists all day long, and end of the day, we were, of course, exhausted, and we would flop down in bed and go to sleep. And what I didn't really know at the time, after a few days, I had heard Gillian mention working on some kind of blog, but I didn't know exactly what she was doing. And it wasn't until we got back and I was able to get on the computer and look to see what she was doing. She was obviously staying up all night working on this beautiful blog that she did with a tremendous amount of text, and she incorporated pictures from the tour. It was wonderful. And I wondered how this poor woman was able to go through this tour and without any sleep at all. But she managed it, and we became good friends. And since then, we've visited her several times and gotten to know her children and her sheep and her dogs and
Her cat,
guess right, cat. And
the late cat,
yeah.
Richard Parker. I love Richard Parker.
Yeah. And we're so sorry to see her leave the Pacific Northwest, but we're so happy she's going to a new place and other people can get to know her and become friends with her, and she can just continue to spread her joy throughout the whole country. Sandy?
And we also got to know Gillian when she was here, either in Yakima or the area, when she was hosting, at that time, Northwest Public Radio events. Do you remember when David Sedaris came to the Capitol Theater and you stood in line and he signed every book?
Yes, he did.
People waiting in line. And
Yes.
Jacques Pepin.
Yes. Yes. Oh, I'm so I'm kind of speechless. Doesn't happen often, but you've been wonderful friends and such friends to me and friends to the station, and you're lifelong friends, as everyone here is. And I know that technology is going to help us continue our contact and our friendship over the years. Distance really isn't quite the barrier it used to be. And I look forward to having you meet me in Denver at some time.
We're hoping for that,
Yeah.
Gillian.
If the pandemic ever stops, we're going to
It
come
will.
to visit you.
It will. Thank
That
you
sounds-
so much.
And we will miss your voice, and that's what kind of drew us in when I guess you started in '93. But I'll say a little story. When I moved to Yakima in 1981, I asked Blaine where the public radio station was. And he kind of gave me this blank stare, and my heart sort of sunk. We weren't hooked up with public radio until 1993, I believe. There was a little transmitter in Ellensburg where we got a signal. So we've been happy listeners and supporters ever since then.
She almost left me when she found out there
It
wasn't
was a
public
good thing it
radio
was so
there.
charming because it was almost a deal breaker. I come from a university town in Iowa City and had not only classical music but jazz, and so good luck and have a wonderful new phase of your life, Gillian.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So Gillian has seen a lot of changes and growth at NWPB. One person instrumental in expanding a lot of our signals and services is former NWPR General Manager Dennis Harsager. Now, Dennis, Gillian has told this joke that you told her many years ago about an announcer who mispronounced the Bach fugue and almost the F word kind of way, and you turned around on the highway and came right back to solve the problem. And it sticks with many of us young announcers to pay attention to pronunciation. Dennis, you have the floor.
Well, I'll just say that he pronounced the first word as batch, and the last word had 2 syllables. So that was not a wonderful moment in my radio career there, but Gillian was definitely a highlight of my radio career there, and I'm so glad to be able to tell you a little bit about how much I appreciate you, and then I get to see all these friends in the Hollywood Squares type fashion here, and I'd love to sit down and have a conversation with all of them. So it's really neat. Anyway, one of the joys of doing that is of working there is I had good people like Roger and Gene Palmquist to run radio and hire all these great people. And one of them was this Gillian Coldsnow, and she had this, I can't remember if it was Roger or Gene that hired you.
Jean.
Gene was, okay. Well, Gene came in anyway, and she had this name, Gillian Coldsnow. I thought, man, that's great. That really appeals to my Nordic sensibilities. What could be better than that? And she said, well, I'll wait and see what she can do on the air. So then I heard her on the air, and she had this fabulous voice and manner of speaking. And I later found out she calls it her colonial accent. Maybe you don't anymore, but you did at the time. And so that really classed up our service quite a bit. And I thought it was pretty nifty, but it wasn't long before I discovered that Gillian has this broad range of talents that you can like plug her in any place in the station and she'll do a great job for you. She's like on a chessboard, the queen can do anything except jump over other pieces, but she can move horizontally and vertically and diagonally, and you want to protect her against any threats from other places. And so I really think of Gillian as kind of the queen on the chessboard. She really could be such a valuable person in such a lot of ways. So I've been able to hear her on the air once in a while when I've been in the East now for 13 years coming up. And I used to listen to Northwest Public Radio at NPR in my office, I would listen to Northwest Public Radio at about 8 o'clock in the morning, my time, about 5 in the morning, your time, because I would never have to listen to the Washington, D.C. traffic reports on WAMU that way. And so I got to hear all of the NWPR talent on the air from my office in DC, and it got to be a thing around NPR. With people would come in and say, you can't pull yourself away from your station, can you? And I think, well, yeah, I can. And then I thought, no, I really can't. So the internet was a great addition to that. So anyway, now you're going to do news, and I think once again, you're showing your great range of talents in a new way, in a new market. You'll learn new things that you didn't learn from us. Maybe you learned some things from us too, but you're going to mature even more as a great public radio professional. And congratulations to you, and congratulations to Northwest Public Broadcasting for having you for these many years, about half of my career there. So good luck to you, and we care a lot about you. So be good and be safe out there.
Thank you so much, Dennis. That's really lovely. When I started at Northwest Public Broadcasting, I thought I had landed in heaven, because there I was playing classical music, and I was working with people who cared so much about what they did. And here was this tiny little station, very boldly expanding across the Cascades and north and south and east, and you led us there, and NWPB is what it is today because of the vision you had all those years ago. Thank you.
Gillian, you were just crowned.
I know. So I didn't realize that the Queen's Gambit was about me.
It's all about you. Well,
Thank you, Dennis.
you know, Gillian often tells people that the number one priority, especially as an announcer, is the listener. It's really not about you, it's about them. And that leads into something important, which is how important listener contributions are to NWPB to get the signal out there and to keep programs on the air. And our next speakers are longtime listeners and close friends who were instrumental in getting the translator in Leavenworth funded, Buford and Vala Howell.
Hi, Gillian.
Hi.
Oh, Gillian, it's so good to see you. You know, I might add to Dennis's comment of be good. I might add, don't be too good.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be naughty. You got to be just a little bit naughty. But
Won't be a problem.
If I were to notice something about Gillian, when I first shared a cup of coffee with her up here in Leavenworth at a bakery, I've never been with someone who listens so carefully. I felt that I was the most important person in that room, sitting across from Gillian. And that's such a gift. So, listener, that's what I'll remember about you, Gillian.
I will remember the wonderful story you told us about a bus ride from San Francisco through Oregon, which I will not relay all the details, but I still remember that story, and we will miss you. I'd like to give you a hug, but Zoom doesn't allow that to happen.
But when you get back, it will. We will.
When you visit Denver, it will.
Yeah. So good luck on your next adventure. It's a wonderful adventure.
Thank you so much. It's been such a treat visiting with you, you know, occasionally over the years, and we've always had such a good time talking. You've been absolutely delightful. I'm so happy to have made this friendship.
Thank
and
you.
I hope it continues over.
Oh, it will.
Yes.
It will. You can't get rid of us, so you're stuck. Yay.
Thank you so much.
You're gonna have to tell us sometime about this bus ride.
Do you want me to tell you now? Do you want me to tell you now?
Oh, yes, you
Okay.
have to.
So this was when I was a tourist, when I arrived in this country. And when I was in San Francisco, I was pickpocketed one night and somebody was murdered in the hotel where I stayed. So I got out of there. I got to the bus station and I said, I want to get on the first bus out of here. I didn't care where it was going. And they said, okay, well, it's a green tortoise. And I said, I don't care what color the tortoise is, get me out of here. So I paid and I got onto the green tortoise. And then I said, well, where's this going? And it's going north. I said, that's good enough for me. Well, the green tortoise was a hippie bus. They took out all the seats. They had foam pads on the floor, and everybody would get out every few hours and cook a meal. So your trip included bed and board, if you will. And so there we went. And when in the morning, the bus driver said, we're here, we're in Oregon, we're at the hot springs. And suddenly everybody on the bus started stripping down stark naked and ran out of the bus looking for the hot springs. And then they said, wait, where's the hot springs? And the driver said, about a mile that way. And everybody went running and I was just stunned. You know, I'd just come in from Singapore and that was just not done in Singapore, but yeah. And that was what amused Buford so much.
And Gillian, wasn't that a nudist colony?
It wasn't a nudist colony. These were just people who needed to be in the great outdoors.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I love that story.
That is, that's the end of the show. I'm just kidding. Hey, and I want to remind you, if you just joined us, that if you would like to say something to Gillian, you could put it in the chat. And you can also go to nwpb.org to sign her virtual memory book. That'll be a nice gift to give her as she leaves NWPB. So I have a couple of comments. Bruce Scher says, so glad to check in here and wish Gillian a fond farewell and a happy trails. Pacific Northwest's loss is Colorado's gain. And also April Johnson says, goosebumps. Gillian's impact is far reaching. And Chris Marks says, you've been a huge part of my life and my family's lives for nearly 30 years. You'll be missed. Good luck. And the Katong family says, hi, G from Singapore.
Which family? Sorry?
Is it Katong?
Oh, Katong.
Katong. Yes.
Nina.
Yes. And then I wanted just to mention while before we move on to a break, that there's a Coldsnow fund for announcing development that you can donate to. So far, $8,000 has been raised, and it's to help announcers hone their craft in the way that Gillian has taught us all these years. So learn more about that at nwpb.org. Okay, so some lovely comments, keep them coming in the chat. And now a lovely person, former NWPR station manager, Roger, this is my fault. We're supposed to have a wee little break first. Do you mind? Okay,
no, go ahead.
Wee little break. Then we could all powder our noses and redo our makeup. Okay. Let's go ahead and see this montage. We have various listener comments already from the memory book.
She comes from York, I do suppose, according to her rounded O's. I said this as I drove my car to Pullman, where to train this new announcer who had moved from Oregon, our gain. And as an English country girl, it's likely she will be a red-haired lass who's tall and thin and loves her spot of tea. Our gear back then was rather old and analog, with hints of mold and chewing gum and mailing wire for us employees to admire, and teletypes and great big reels to hold the tapes against the wheels, and vinyl discs and rugs of shag to cause each second breath to gag. And yet she learned it in a flash, this station built on zero cash. She chose her music to be played and hoped each month she would be paid. As Henry Higgins would beseech, the English do not teach their speech. Her king's lingo hurt our ears, for in America we haven't used it for years. Decades passed with news and views and morning shows to pay her dues until she rose to a position which supervised weekend edition. She loved to hear her telephone. At 5 a.m. she'd hear me moan, "The feed is dead, alack, alas." She told me to get off my chair and switch the signal to somewhere I'd often been made aware. Weekdays, if in Sue Ann's stead, I'd call at 4 to rouse her bed, I made her mornings glow and glitter by screwing up our main transmitter. "Why, thank you, Bruce, for waking me and sharing your report," was her response, or, I forget, some pithier retort. "The tape is broke, the fuse is blown," I'd tell her on the telephone. She'd tell me, "Bless your early call," or words where F preceded all. While I've been gone for many years, though sometimes say hello, there is a parting comment that I think you ought to know. We battled near, we battled far, but still I have a hunch you'll never have a closer friend whose nose you wish to punch. Congratulations, Gillian.
Here at NWPB. And now some notes from your memory book, Gillian. Maybe we'll have some cool jazz underneath that. Gillian, I hope you were able to see the type on that. I know sometimes it's hard to see the tiny writing, but we'll get that to you so you can read it.
Well, yes, because I'm in reading glasses territory, which
And your eyes are all watery now. And we got a couple more comments. Scott Leadingham says, when a friend found out that he was working at NWPB, his friend was starstruck. He had been a WSU student and listened to Gillian while studying. And his friend said, her voice is like an innkeeper. Welcome me in from the cold. Perfect name for it too. And Dana Gibson says, I wish I could be there to hug you. And reminder, if you're watching us and just joining, to go ahead and leave something in the chat, and we'll get to it as we go through the program and let Gillian know what you have to say. And now, after he got his powder on and his makeup, NWPR station manager from 1999 to 2009, Roger Johnson. Now, Roger, you left such a wonderful impression on Gillian. She talks about you all the time. Really appreciated your leadership and your under the radar humor.
And not my makeup? Well, I did have the privilege of working with Gillian for about a decade. And in preparing for this, I've been trying to figure out what's the best way to adequately explain her contributions without taking up the whole 90 minutes, which I probably could do. Ironically, what I came up with is a sports comparison, which is ironic because let's just say Gillian was never really a sports fan. So just hear me out on Gillian. I think this will make sense. But in sports, there are some athletes, I think it's mostly a basketball thing, of whom it is said they make the players around them better. You know, if you're a basketball fan, think Magic Johnson or Sue Bird. And Gillian, you can Google him after we're done here. But, you know, they were both great players in their own right, but they're also known for making their teammates better. And they did this through their leadership by putting their interests of, putting the interests of the team ahead of their own and sharing what they knew with their teammates. Well, that's to me what Gillian brought to Northwest Public Radio. She helped all of us do our jobs better through her generosity and sharing her time, her talents, her expertise. It was never about her. It was always about the organization. She always set high standards and led by example. Just one example I'll provide. One of the things I always valued about Gillian, and I'm not sure I ever even told you this, and if I didn't, then it's bad on me, but she was always a real strong advocate of good grammar and proper use of the English language. And I appreciated that because I shared those values and beliefs, although I have to confess that my grammar skills were never quite matched Gillian's. Gillian was always someone you could depend on, which, you know, kind of important when you're in the radio business. I can remember more than a few snowy mornings, the kind of mornings where you kind of wonder, I hope the people we need to get us on the air are going to get to work, but I always knew Gillian would be behind the wheel of her all-wheel drive Subaru, making her way from Moscow up the hills into Pullman, and she was going to be there and we were going to be on the air. One other quick anecdote, a few years ago, somebody contacted me and said, we're nominating Gillian for this, I forget the name of the award, Women of Distinction or something like that at WSU. And would I write a letter? And I said, sure, of course I will. I don't remember much of what I said in that, but I do remember one thing. I was explaining about how Northwest Public Radio had this extremely complex operational system. And I said, you know, I never really understood how it worked, but I really didn't have to because I had Gillian. So as I think back about my years working with Gillian, I'm grateful for all that she brought to the organization. But right now, I have to say I'm really grateful that I'm retired and I don't have to worry about how to replace you. So Gillian, thank you for helping all of us do our jobs better. And I know you'll do the same at Colorado Public Radio.
thank you so much, Roger. And I love our shared love of Ferdinand's ice cream will always bond us too.
There you go.
Thank you so much.
You're
You've
welcome.
been a wonderful role model for me.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, speaking of ice, didn't Roger love figure skating? and we would often talk about figure skating as a sport and analogies.
I think we had a few arguments over whether it even was a sport.
Yes. I remember those arguments well.
I'd forgotten those.
The next two guests are dear to Gillian. They came from the Tri-Cities practically prepared to take over the station as freshmen in college. Ashley Rockwell is now a PhD candidate in sociology at Georgia State University, and Kevin Rinker works for WABE in Atlanta. And Gillian has often gushed about how intelligent, capable, and honestly adorable this couple is. And they sent this video in for you, G.
Hey Gillian, we heard that you are trading in the rolling hills of the Palouse for the Rocky Mountains. I know the station is going to miss you immensely, just like we did when we moved across the country. But I also know that Colorado Public Radio is lucky to have you.
And they're lucky to have you because you'll be mentoring another generation of reporters and newsmakers, just like you did me and Ashley. I still use what you taught me every day at WABE. The air checks have really done me some great service over the years. So here's to a great time in Denver. Good luck with the move, and have a great new year too. Happy 2021.
Oh, I love them. I miss them.
Yeah, they were great. We still have a little origami box that Ashley made to help organize paper clips. All right, and now an old friend and colleague who worked with Gillian for many years, a dear friend, dear coworker, Karen Olstad.
Hi, Gillian.
Hi, Karen.
It is so wonderful to see so many old and dear friends here today. And it's just the magic of technology and the power of Gillian's and our friendship for you that's bringing us all together. It's so special. I'm going to cry. But, and I'm happy that we're gathering on such a happy occasion to send you off in style. I first met Gillian in 1993 when she was hired as a classical music announcer, was at what was then Northwest Public Radio. And I think didn't you and Robin come about the same time? You kind of filled the slots that were vacated when Bill Morlock and Bob Christensen left, if I remember correctly.
A couple of years after Robin, yes.
And they had big shoes to fill because those two men had huge presence, but both Robin and especially Gillian just didn't even, they made the shifts their own. They transformed the station by their presence, and Gillian's presence and personality just connected immediately with audiences. And as we've heard numerous people say today, listeners loved her voice, especially her British sounding accent. And Gillian loved to travel the vast Northwest Public Radio coverage area and meet with listeners and members, especially. And one of the sort of guilty pleasures I'm going to confess right now is that I loved going to events, and I love to introduce you to people or say, have you met Gillian Coldsnow? And they'd say, oh no, I would love to meet her. Oh, well, let me introduce you. And because I just love to see the look on their face. Because so many times people were not expecting to see an Asian woman. And you know, this happened all the time. And sometimes people would say the most insensitive things, actually. They'd say, oh, you're not what I pictured, or I thought you'd be tall, or I thought you'd be blonde. And Gillian just always handled those situations with grace and with class. And in fact, those are two the first words that come to mind when I think of Gillian, is grace and class. And as previously noted, she had a lot of different positions while at Northwest Public Radio, going from classical music announcer to morning edition host, and operations manager and program director. And there's virtually nothing that she couldn't do on or off the air. And I'm sure that Colorado Public Radio heard all about your many professional talents through their interviewing process, but I don't think they could possibly know how fortunate they are to be getting Gillian as a teammate, as Roger mentioned. But Gillian's just one of the best teammates to have. She's so professional, but also warm and funny and generous. And I think somebody might have already mentioned this, a fabulous gourmet cook, and, which I am not. And so I loved going to the station potlucks, and Gillian would bring these just amazing dishes to share with everybody, which was such a fabulous treat. And not only did she do that, but she would often bake treats for the phone volunteers after she had worked long shifts, on-air shifts during the pledge drives. Then she'd go home and bake and then show up the next day with these fabulous creations for our phone volunteers. So that was amazing to me. And as many of you know, I have worked at a couple of other stations since I left Northwest Public Broadcasting, and I've listened to even more, including the big market stations here on the west side of the state where I live now. But as radio program directors talk about stationality, or at least they used to, I don't know if that's still a word they use, but that's the sound and the personality that each station has that differentiates it from all the others, and it makes listeners feel at home. And Dennis kind of talked about this too. And I would say that Gillian is responsible to a large degree for the stationality of Northwest Public Radio, because it's warm, it's friendly, it's down to earth, and it's razor sharp, just like Gillian is. So as a loyal listener, I will miss hearing your voice on my station every day, because I'll probably still listen to Northwest Public Radio. But I know that her legacy will live on in the sound of the service. And I'm so happy for you, Gillian, that you get to have this opportunity to take this next step in your career, and that you get to work at a well-resourced station, because that will be fun in a different way for you. But I think that you're going to learn what so many of us have noted, that there's no other organization like Northwest Public Broadcasting because of the fabulous people. And you've been an integral part of that for all these years. So just let me add my voice, wishing you the best, and thank you for your camaraderie and your friendship. And I'm glad you're not going far, and I'm glad to hear that you're going to be coming back eventually. So good luck.
So much. Thanks so much. You're amazing.
You know, you mentioned, Karen mentioned stationality, and there's two comments from people who are watching. Joan Jones says, "Ha! I knew they'd come up with the air check. I could always tell when a board operator had just been through one of Gillian's air checks. Legend, I tell ya," she says. And we also have a comment from Connor Hendrickson. He's on our air right now, and he says, "I'm going to miss Gillian a lot. She has been a fantastic mentor and a huge inspiration to me. I'll keep her teachings alive on the air."
Good on you, Connor. And our Connor just graduated a few weeks ago. Oh, I'm so proud of him. So
yeah.
what an honor.
Gillian had a dear friend and coworker that, you know, you seem to have an ESP connection, spiritual connection with, Rita Brown. She brought fresh ideas, leadership, and it seemed to inspire you, Gillian. I think I saw you laugh so much with her. Unfortunately, Rita passed after she left NWPB from cancer, but her daughter, Nicole Brown, sent in this message for you.
Hi, G. Just wanted to hop on here and send you a message. We are all so sad that you're leaving, but so excited for your new adventure. Anyone who's ever had the privilege of knowing you, or of meeting you, or getting to work with you, or being touched somehow in our lives by you can all attest that you are such a force and such a light in this world, and that we are all better people for knowing you. Like I said, we'll miss you, but we can't wait to hear about all your adventures in Denver. So keep in touch. Bye.
That was Nicole Brown. Yeah. Well, another person you seem to have a connection with, because of a love of classical music, which is your jam. But she's also incredibly talented, insightful, and she's also a hard worker, and you became fast friends, is a woman with a honeyed voice. You've heard her on Sunday Baroque. Musical talents delight. She can play. Oh my goodness. Here's Suzanne Bona.
Thank you. Thank you. Boy, it is such an honor and a pleasure to be able to celebrate Gillian. I have not had the pleasure and honor to actually work in the same radio station with her, but I've known you for a really long time, Gillian. And we started off really as, email and telephone friends, long distance colleagues. And then we became conference buddies. And then I got the chance to visit about 2 years ago, and boy, that was fun. We had some really good one-on-one time. And I also got to see you interact with your colleagues at the station and with listeners. And that was really a lovely treat for me on a lot of levels. I've been in this business for a very long time, as you have, and I have visited a lot of stations. And I will tell you that I've met a lot of our colleagues, our lovely, wonderful colleagues. You, my friend, are the cream of the crop. You are the whole package. And I was thinking about what those qualities are that make up Gillian. So gentle, good-natured, giving, and genuine. Gillian has a quiet cool, and she just knows her stuff, and she believes in the mission of public broadcasting, and she really knows how to foster those values. Now, have you ever noticed that people who really know their stuff don't have to brag about how much they know their stuff? They just walk the walk. So that is you. Intelligent and interesting. You are a really cool person. You are a woman of many talents and interests and great intellect. A couple people brought up food. Have you checked out her YouTube video making bread? I have had the pleasure of enjoying her delicious home cooking. And like all truly successful people, Gillian makes time for things that are important to her. And she knows how to be a whole person. And I think that is part of the secret sauce, if you will. Large-hearted and laughter-inducing. You are a natural storyteller. And of course, that's our business, right? But when I visited Northwest Public Broadcasting, Gillian shared a lot of laughs and a lot of poignant moments too. We spent a lot of time in the car one-on-one. And she's had some extraordinary experiences. And she really has a gift for sharing those stories, which is very, very special. A leader. And that is a leader in the truest sense. Gillian is a collaborative and brave and solid leader. And she knows her stuff, and she rolls up her sleeves to do whatever it takes. And that is true leadership. Intuitive. And this is a woman who really knows how to anticipate needs, and a woman who plans her work and works her plan. And it's really another component of leadership. It makes all the difference. Appreciative, approachable, and articulate. And again, one of the most important characteristics of a true pro is recognizing the contributions of others and being able to express that genuine, heartfelt appreciation. And Gillian, that is one of your superpowers. It really is. And finally, nice. Never underestimate the power and importance of being nice. Haven't we all come to appreciate more than ever how important it is to be nice? Gillian is a truly nice person. She treats people with kindness and respect. And it was so obvious to see the warm relationship she shares with her friends at the station, all of you and so many more. And I know her departure is going to be a huge professional and a personal loss for you all. So Gillian, you're going to be a really tough act to follow, and it's going to be very hard to fill your shoes. You are the whole package. And as others have said, Colorado Public Radio is tremendously fortunate to have you joining them. I await the news of your next wonderful, exciting adventures. And I wish you congratulations and best of luck, my friend.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's really lovely. We had so much fun. And when this pandemic is over, I know we'll have fun at conferences again. My conference buddy.
Oh, yes.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Gillian, did you catch that Suzanne said you were gentle, but I don't think you've ever had to correct her saying Rachmaninoff or Bartok. You do it twice. She's not so gentle. Now, you've heard them host classical music together with First Fridays. You've seen them host classical music events in the Northwest. And many miss Robin Rylett on the air, who she moved on to the East Coast. But Robin Rylett worked with Gillian for many years. And Gillian, she sent in this for you.
Hi, Gillian. It's Robin. You know, I was thinking that we probably worked together for 24 of those 27 years. And I remember when we were getting ready to hire you, someone was concerned about your English accent. And I said, "Are you kidding? That's a bonus." And it was, and it is. But the memory I want to share with you, Gillian, is not about work. It was you and I on a trip down to the Wallowas. You probably know what's coming. And you were driving, and we were going just at the crest of the pass, the windy pass that takes you down into Oregon. And from our left, there was this big cliff. On our right, sheer drop off and another cliff. And suddenly, we see launching itself off the cliff to our left, a flying squirrel. And it literally launched itself off the cliff, glided in front of your car, and off the edge of this cliff into seemingly nowhere. And I just remember there was this moment of silence, and then you and I both started exclaiming, "Did we just see what we thought we saw?" And that's one of my favorite memories of something that I did with you. Of course, we did all sorts of fun things, Classic Northwest and First Friday with the Yakima Symphony, and we did Peter and the Wolf with the Walla Walla Symphony, and so many great memories. Congratulations on your 27 years, Gillian. I know you're going to rock it down in Colorado. Bless you, and great, great future for you.
That's so lovely. You know, Robin and I had so much fun, and listen to that voice. I mean,
The two of you together was great partnership. But did you, when she was talking about your driving, I thought she was going to mention your lead foot because you're a fast driver. You're the fastest driver in a minivan I've ever been with.
well, look, if you do morning edition, you know every minute counts, right?
So true. So that was Robin Rylett, our longtime music director and host, one of our hosts at NWPB. Now some more messages from listeners. If you just joined us, you can add your messages into the chat and we'll work those into the program. I do want to say Marie Glenn says, "All the best, end of an era at NWPB." Sherry Billing says, "Thank you, Gillian, for exposing me to the wonderful world of opera. I've enjoyed our time together at Kenworthy and elsewhere. I'll miss you more than you will know." And here are some more memories off of your memory book, and we'll be back with more in just a few moments. that memory book for Gillian. That's part of what you were just watching. And also leave a message in the chat. We did hear from Bruce Sher, who says, I have to check out now, but this has been wonderful. I just hope that someone has a picture of Gillian climbing a tower and replacing the flashing red light at the top, because I know she's done it all. I think we might have that picture. Okay, G, now longtime listener from Yakima, Linda and David Olson are here to talk with you.
Hi.
Oh, Linda, you're on mute. No worries. Could hold the space bar down. That might help while you're talking. And while this is happening, I want to say thank you to everybody who's watching us on YouTube, and thanks for all of your wonderful comments. We're going to make sure Gillian gets those printed out for her own memory book.
I also wanted to thank everyone who's contributed to the Fund for Announcers. Thank you. That will continue some extremely important work.
Yeah. And now here, Linda and David.
We're having
No, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. You can't see me right now, I don't think.
No,
we will soon.
David's working on it.
I think you can go ahead and talk. We can see you now.
Okay. You're supposed to stay here for a minute. Okay. Oh, okay. Too many phone calls. Anyway, I want to say that as a listener, and I feel very honored to be included, and not be one of the persons actually in the station, but I have the feeling, well, with Northwest Public Broadcasting, and especially with Gillian, that I'm listening to friends. And I can be doing whatever here in Yakima, but my friends are with me. And it's just something special. And sometimes, especially with all the scary things that sometimes are happening like now, it's nice to know that I have friends and that people are saying intelligent things and thinking intelligent things and reassuring us. But so that's kind of the beginning. And then I've been involved with foreign languages for my whole life almost. And I'm involved with a group, International Women's here in Yakima. And I got bold and I thought, well, I would see if Gillian would come and talk to us, because she certainly would fill the bill for someone being from another country, sharing her world a little bit with us, and especially her times with Northwest Public Broadcasting. And she certainly did a wonderful job talking with our group, but the biggest thing for me was getting to know Gillian in person. And oh my goodness, what an impression she makes. And it's a wonderful, comfortable feeling of someone that I've listened to, felt was a radio friend, and then got to know her and felt like she was a real friend, an in-person friend. And anyway, I feel very blessed. And I want to say that all of you guys and women on Northwest Public Broadcasting have continued to share with me and other listeners that feeling of intimacy. I was very disappointed. I was actually going to visit all of you guys, and Gillian especially, last April. But unfortunately, we had the pandemic, and I had a wonderful road trip planned. But it'll have to be another time. And who knows, maybe Colorado is on the docket. But I'm really hoping that you actually do come back, Gillian, to Pacific Northwest. It's beautiful, but I know Colorado is beautiful too. Anyway, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much, Linda and David. I've been blessed by your friendship.
Our next guest can kick some butt in roller derby and play, is it viola or viola? Viola, correct me.
Viola.
Viola. This is Jessie Jacobs. She was our music director from 2016 to 2018. Jessie.
Hello, hello, hello. Gillian, it's so wonderful to see you. This has been so incredible hearing about all of the lives that you've touched. It's just amazing. Gillian was really the start of my career. I started working with Northwest Public Broadcasting in 2011. I was a lost 20-something with absolutely no idea what she wanted to do. She told me that the great Robin Rylett was looking for a music assistant, and then she connected us, and that was that. But Gillian really introduced me to a medium that I had never really considered before, radio. And she showed me the absolute magic that can be created from audio storytelling and from proper communication. Radio was something I'd never given any thought to, but I learned quickly that it was really something special. I know a lot of us here know that Gillian's passion for radio is absolutely infectious. It's pretty impossible to hear the depth of her knowledge and feel the fire in her heart and not think that, like, dang, this is something really special. It's also pretty hard to walk away from a conversation with Gillian about public radio without the fire in your own heart burning a little brighter. And it was unforgettable to see and hear the way that she connected with listeners and observe the way that she thought about words and announcing, and her programming insights are impossibly brilliant. I could go on forever. We worked together in many different capacities over my 7 years with Northwest Public Broadcasting. She was my supervisor, and she was a colleague. But what has always remained constant throughout our time together and throughout all of my life since I've known Gillian is that she's just been an incredibly powerful force in my life. After I moved from NWPB, I chased my husband around the East Coast for a while, but I still carried Gillian with me, both professionally and personally. I immediately sent her a link to my first radio production when I started work in Boston. I sent her all sorts of radio things, voiceover work, and anything that was a result of her guidance, because I just wanted her to know, and I still want her to know that none of it would have happened without her. I wouldn't have had the confidence or the courage or the drive or the passion to create anything that I've created without your guidance. And the thing is, whenever I have tried to tell her this, she always waves it off and says, no, like, this is your doing, because that is what a great mentor does, is that they show you how to make magic and then they never stop cheering you on. And that is Gillian. And radio aside, I would be absolutely remiss if I failed to mention how important her presence is as a powerful woman, not only in my life, but to countless other young women that she's mentored over the years. She taught me to face challenges with tenacity and humility. She taught me to trust my gut. She taught me to live and work with enthusiasm and humor. And it was really through her mentorship that I learned the definition of hard work. And it has been Gillian, more than any other presence in my life, that gave me the ability to believe in myself. So Gillian, I can't thank you enough for your guidance and your care and your mentorship. Thank you for sharing your love of public radio. I also have to say thank you for your enthusiastic love of fine cocktails and delicious food and all of that you've shared over the years. Thank you for displaying what it means to be a caring mentor and a friend, but you're so much more than a friend to me. You're really my family. And I know I'm not alone in wanting to thank you for giving a lost 20-something purpose in life. Your mentorship and your friendship has given my life more meaning than you will ever know. And I cannot wait to see what you accomplish in the future. Colorado Public Radio and the Denver area in general are just so lucky. They have no idea what they have coming.
Jessie, oh, I am so proud of you. Look, I'll have to talk to you later. I can't get my words together. Thank you. Thank you so much. You are awesome.
That was
Thank-
beautiful, Jessie. Other young people and students that you've touched, Malu Santos says, I'll miss you so much, Tita. And also says, hi to me. Carrie Michael says, we'll miss you so much. Ted Curate says, thank you, Gillian, for your amazing skills. It is always a pleasure to hear your voice. I wish you all the best in Colorado and look forward to your eventual return to Moscow. Cheers. And that's from Ted. Lynn Weaver says, so grateful that all of your beautiful gifts and talents are being celebrated today. Blessings to you, and on your next adventure, you will be missed. And many of you are probably noticing there's a theme here of classical music with Gillian. It's been important in her life. It started when she was forced to play piano, like many Asian people. The good news is she ended up with a teacher who eventually inspired her because they also loved classical music. And because of that, Gillian has found many friends in the classical music world. One from Chelan Bachfest is Carrie Travers, and she sent in this video.
My name is Carrie Travers. I was the co-president of the Lake Chelan Bachfest from 2011 until this fall, and I've been deeply involved with the board of directors of the Lake Chelan Bachfest since 1996. NWPR, now NWPB, has been a loyal sponsor of our 10-day, 22-event summer festival for many years. Through my association with the festival, I've had the wonderful opportunity to become acquainted with Gillian Coldsnow. Gillian is a woman who is erudite yet down to earth. As a beloved radio host on NWPB, she has distinguished herself in the Pacific Northwest for her ability to connect with the audience both as a host of music programs and news programs. She traveled to Chelan to attend our festival several times as a representative of NWPB and to host some of our concerts. She has a vast knowledge of music and music history and has a keen interest in sharing that knowledge. Her introductions to our program not only educated our audience about the pieces performed and the history in which the music was written, but also made the entire concert more understandable, relevant, and memorable. Her legacy at the Lake Chelan Bachfest includes the fact that, since her last visit, due to the popularity of her delightful and educational introductions to the music, we have instituted an annual pre-concert lecture as part of our ongoing program. On a personal note, Gillian met two of my children at the Icicle Creek Music Center when they were in high school attending a chamber music camp. Every time I saw her after that, she remembered to ask about them and how their professional music careers were progressing. Additionally, the last time she attended the Lake Chelan Bachfest, my husband and I were fortunate enough to host Gillian and Anjali at our home. What a wonderful treat. Certainly, in the radio world, there would be few people who are as well known, as influential, and as loved as Gillian Coldsnow. We were so fortunate to have her here in the Pacific Northwest for many years, and we will miss her articulate, down-to-earth, and fun manner. Colorado Public Broadcasting is so lucky to have her join their public radio family. We at the Lake Chelan Bachfest wish her well in her new adventure.
Concert luncheon. I think that's perfect because of you.
Yes, I love everything about it.
Yeah. Well, coming up next, we have Anna King, NWPB correspondent from the Tri-Cities.
Hey, Anna.
Hi, Gillian. You know, the first time I ever heard the name Coldsnow, I'm pretty sure it was 20 degrees in Penticton. I was in a steam heated dorm at Washington State University, still under my down comforter. It was a sleepy weekend morning, and Gillian had already been up for hours at the station. She knew my lazy college weekend butt needed to know what was up with the world that day. What I couldn't know is that a few years later, she'd become my voice coach, mentor, and then my cheerleader at Northwest Public Broadcasting. With a name like Coldsnow, being close to Gillian is surprisingly much like standing near a festive Leavenworth bonfire. She's warm, you feel happy and toasty near her glow, but don't mess or poke her with a stick or you'll get roasted. Gillian cheers on those who succeed around her. When I was honored with WSU's Woman of the Year, I remember her making it up Terrell Mall after her knee surgery with a walker in the pain, the snow, and the sleet, and then sitting at a table smiling wide as I gave my acceptance speech. Gillian works hard behind the scenes too. Somebody got sick and can't do morning edition. Gillian wakes up for it. Somebody like me needs a lift from the station to the hotel. Gillian's minivan guns it there. Somebody needs to do a national intro for a big NPR player at a special event. Gillian unfolds a piece of paper she's prepped from her pocket and climbs the stairs to the stage. Somebody on staff gets married. Gillian bakes focaccia for more than 100. And those people could eat a lot of freaking bread. Gillian's a team player. She's a gracious leader. She's a mentor. She's my friend. We wish you the best, Gillian. In Denver, we'll miss your good work, your elegant accent, and your warm glow.
Anna, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Gonna miss you.
Miss you already.
Wow, there's not going to be a dry eye today. Listen, Gillian, the whole 8 o'clock hour tonight is dedicated to you. And Anjuli says, one of my favorite memories with Gillian was going to the Lake Chelan Bachfest to MC. So many good memories. And then Mark in Lewiston says, I've known Gillian for 15 years. It was a thrill to meet her and put a face to a voice. And I still get the same thrill every time our paths cross. Bon voyage, Mark Heavens. And let's see, Benjamin Harlow, will miss you locally in our lives, but thankfully for this new chapter, you get to experience something exciting. I don't know how you could be any greater, but I know you will. Looking forward to visiting you in Colorado. I think that's the green light for me to get that direct flight to Denver, Gillian.
Harlow is Sue Ann's husband. Yes. I want you there.
And Jeff K says, so many terrific moments with radio guided by you at the helm. What I have noticed over the years is your dedication. Gillian, our next guest, has ingrained a lot of important radio information into us. And she, through you, has taught us to tell the truth, make it matter, and never be boring. Gillian is a disciple of the book Beyond Powerful Radio by Valerie Geller. And here is Valerie. Now we have the audio for Valerie.
Yeah, audio only because they're working on our cable outside the building with jackhammers, and we have intermittent audio and video today. So I figured it was safer to do it this way. But Gillian, hopefully we will have a chance to see one another face to face over some adult beverage and really have a chance to celebrate life, which is really listening to, everyone from people that you've mentored and worked with and managed, and even listeners who have connected with you. You have really embodied powerful radio. Not only can you do it, those who can do, those who can't teach. No, you can do it and you can teach it, and like the wounded healer is better because they have walked the path. You are better because you have walked the path. And our paths have almost crossed a number of times. I had worked as a consultant and trainer at the Radio Corporation of Singapore right after you had left in Singapore. And I, had worked as a trainer for public radio for many years. And I think, did we even meet? Was it in Colorado?
It was. It
was in Colorado.
It was at Denver, my first public radio conference. And You just held my attention for every single second of that hour. That has never happened to me before. You were just magical to listen to. You were saying everything I believed in but had not been able to articulate.
Oh, well, that's high praise coming from you, and I thank you. Here's what it really is. It is the love of radio. We love this thing that is so magical and so wonderful. No human being ever has to be alone if there's a radio in the room. The power of audio, the intimacy of one person connecting with another human being, with all of everything that makes us human. And radio is inform, entertain, inspire, persuade. But the most important thing, and I think one of the listeners said this, is connecting, making people feel connected. Yes, the music lifts us and the information is very necessary and talkable topics so that we are interesting, keeping our minds alive and having an understanding of connection to community and what's going on. But what I loved about you when I first met you is when we started talking about radio as its own art form. Radio, talking, conversation, listening, that listening is the greatest gift you can give another human being in the world, to really hear them, and that all of that is part of the magic. And you got it on all cylinders. And then there was a bonus with you. You were fun. It was like, wow, she's great. You had this gleam in your eye and you were fun. And then I have to say, during COVID, we're in the same Facebook cooking group that Abby has put together. And I saw a whole other side to you. And, I had never cooked. I lived in New York. I had a 6-foot kitchen and I'm on the road 50 weeks a year. I work in 42 countries. I'm never home. I never cooked. And besides, in New York, when you cook, like whatever you would make, you would smell it for a month later because there's no air ventilation. So I just never cooked in New York, and I was there 28 years. Well, I moved to California and suddenly COVID hit. And I became determined that one of the things I wanted to do was learn how to cook. And I watched all these wonderful things you made. And what it is it's creativity and artistry that is coming out through your cooking. And then this is something that will not surprise anybody. But, in Los Angeles, where I happen to be right now, the store shelves were bare in the beginning of COVID. And I put something online and said, gee, it would be fun to make banana bread, but you can't get flour. Gillian said, I've just got 2 big, huge sacks. Where can I send you some baking flour? And so not only is she a brilliant, brilliant broadcaster, an amazing teacher and mentor, and not only is she someone who can write any script, announce any topic, make anything come alive through powerful storytelling and the power of her personality, and change the red light on the tower. Not only can she do all that, but she's a loving and generous cook, understanding that nurturing people, feeding people is yet another way, right? Just like radio, it's a way of giving to the audience, giving to people, and giving from the heart. So Gillian, it is from my heart that I just say I have been honored to know you and to work with you. And I hope we get a chance in Colorado to work together again. And even if we don't, I just want you to know that sometimes when you write a book or when you do a training, it's a little bit like putting a note in a bottle and throwing it onto the ocean. And you don't really know what's going to happen with that note. You put it out there, but you don't really see the follow-up. And with you, it's like planting a seed, and not only a flower, but an entire garden grew. And so I'm so proud of you, and I just love you. And I just want to wish you all the best in Colorado, and we will continue our conversation.
Valerie, thank you so much, Valerie. Yes, we will work together. We will continue the conversation, and someday we shall bake together.
That would be fun. Meanwhile, just remember, pack lightly, because anything you need, you can get it on the other end.
Right.
Good advice. Gillian Karen Haas says, I'll miss your comforting voice as you told us the often hard truth. Thank you, Ms. Coldsnow. All the best in your new endeavors. Patty Nagel says, it has been a joy to have you in my home, even if it is only the audio you. Thank you for all you've done for public radio east of the Cascades. Jim Corkin says, sending greetings and best wishes from Wenatchee. NWPB is a quality operation because of quality people like you. We will miss you. We'll look forward to your return someday soon. And our last word for tonight, before Gillian, we let you say your final words, is from our station manager, Carrie Swanson.
Carrie.
You're muted, Carrie.
Not for long. Gillian, who put me after Valerie? Wow. Gillian, a story for you all. Back in the 90s, I was an operations manager at KPLU in Seattle-Tacoma. And Gillian was an operations manager here at Northwest Public Broadcasting. And back then, all the NPR programs, they didn't come on a computer. There was nothing like that. We had to put big reel-to-reel tapes up and make sure that we hit the button at the right time so we could record Fresh Air or All Things Considered or whatever, Car Talk, whatever it was that we needed, because then we were going to air that later. So if you missed a program at your station, there was no like backups or anything like that. You couldn't just download another version of that. Operations managers kind of like their eyes went, oh no. And so what we did was we created kind of a telephone network. We didn't even have emails really then. And we would call each other up from different stations. Hi, I need a this and I need a that. Can you send me? And sure enough, we'd make a copy and put it on the bus or in the mail. But Gillian was always, like my first go-to person. Gillian, we've missed Car Talk for this week. I need it on Saturday. Can you get it to me? And, she was there. She was always dependable. It's just amazing. I didn't know that years later I'd get a chance to work with her so closely. Gillian, you've been, my broadcast partner in so many ways. We've built so much here at Northwest Public Broadcasting, and it was Gillian that had that fire that you hear. Even as a boss, she would put coal on my fire to get that going. Earlier in the program, our former station manager, Roger Johnson, said, well, I'm just glad I don't have to replace her. Roger, thank you, because I'm the guy that has to try to replace you. And that's impossible. Gillian, your contributions to Northwest Public Broadcasting are so numerous. It is hard, impossible to count. You've raised the bar. You've done it so admirably, all while making it look so easy when we knew it wasn't. You've built an excellent programming team that will continue to serve NWPB in the region for years to come. You've been a great colleague, a friend, a sounding board, a problem solver, a broadcasting partner, and even as supervisor and supervisee, you taught me so much. Thank you. Public radio is a small world, we know. Not to say goodbye, but I'll see you and I'll get to work with you somewhere down the road. And in the meantime, listeners will know that we will keep that recording of Gillian Coldsnow doing the station ID for as long as we can. So you'll be hearing Gillian even touching us all as a reminder of things that she's done. Thank you, Gillian.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you. And I'm saying publicly now, you have full permission to use my recordings for as long as you want.
It's going to be a long time, Gillian. Your voice is like a hook. It draws them in. Keep them. So, Gillian, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I have so much I want to say, and I'm not sure that I know how to express myself adequately. It's been a very emotional hour. I'm deeply moved by everything I've heard today, to know that I've connected with listeners who have become friends, to have connected with so many young people who have then gone on to work in radio and excel, and to have made friends of my colleagues all of you in your own way have enriched my life immeasurably. You've enriched the lives of my family. I arrived as a 30-year-old with no salt and pepper in her hair. And you helped me to learn how to be not just a person in radio, but how to conduct myself as a parent and a member of the community. As I said, I'm going to have a hard time getting out what I want to say without breaking down. But thank you for enriching my life so much, and for making our communities so wonderful just by being who you are. And to my public radio colleagues beyond the Northwest, thank you for the gifts you bring that light up lives. These days we need every bit of light we can have, and you do that graciously every day, every one of my public radio colleagues, near and far. And you will always have an indelible corner of my heart, as the Northwest will be. I will always be a Northwest girl. I've lived in the Northwest longer than I've lived anywhere. This is home, and I'll certainly be a frequent visitor. I can't stay away. And Northwest Public Broadcasting will definitely see me at the KWSU Centennial next year. Thank you all so much. And all of you who organized this, you have just taken my breath away. What a fabulous job you've all done. And I also have to talk about Sue Ann, whom I hired as a teenager who was nervous and unsure, and look at who she is now, not just as a broadcast professional, but the strong woman, wife, and mother she is and friend. I mean, I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of all of you. I'm so proud to be in public radio. It was an accident that I ended up in radio, but what a happy accident. It's been a lifelong love.
Well, we're going to miss you, and we love you deeply, Gillian. Thank you so much. We already cried together on the air, so I'm going to keep it together and say a quick goodbye to everybody who's joined us. Gillian, there one time there seemed like 80 people came to this party, and wishing you a farewell. So thanks for being with us tonight, everyone. Have a good evening. It's going to feel abrupt for those who are in the green room, but big thanks for helping to make this a wonderful night for Gillian.
Thank you all. I love you all so much.